Welcome to the Polymatic Episode 3 for October 23rd, 2016. Today's topic, Internet of Doomed Things.
Well, hello. Alan, how's stuff?
They're doing pretty good. October was a strange month. I pre-ordered a whole bunch of stuff, and they all sort of showed up within like a sequence of 3 days this week. So...
Well, my Oh No printer was supposed to be shipped by the end of October, but it still hasn't.
Oh, really? Oh, no, it's not coming.
Yeah. Well, lots of stuff ordered. Not a lot of stuff arrived. I've got SpaceX t-shirts in, so that's a plus.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I tried to order some stuff yesterday, and things were not working.
The internet was missing?
Yeah. PayPal, Twitter, everything was down. It's like horrible. The Internet of Things is dooming our internets. There was a big DDoS last Friday. There's a DNS hosting company. It's called Dyn. It's known for Dyn DNS and managed DNS services. And it got taken out by lots of insecure IP cameras and cool toasters that are hooked up to the internet with open telnet ports and stuff. It was a bad day yesterday, and Krebs on security got taken out a few weeks ago, I think. He got blasted by the biggest DDoS ever. Now, this same thing happened yesterday, according to Dyn. You can read the article on Gizmodo on polymatic.link/e if you want to read along and see more about this. But let's talk about what actually happened. So there are Internet of Things out there, and Internet of Things is basically anything you can buy hooked up to the internet. So a toaster, a TV, a microwave, a fridge, all sorts of other stuff and things that are hooked up to the internet for no apparent reason. And they have open telnet ports, and there is a botnet that scans for open telnet ports and tries to abuse them with default passwords. And this is what has been happening, and it's very hard to detect which devices have been taken over and which ones have been cracked open. And basically they're all sending packets towards like the target of the DDoS, and there's a botnet that controls that and tries to send it somewhere. And that's what's messing with our Twitters and our PayPals and stuff. That's why I couldn't buy the new rolls of Kapton tape yesterday on eBay, because PayPal was down for me, and Twitter was down for me, and a hell of a lot of services were down. Anything from GitHub, I couldn't update my packages for my development stuff. It was a mess. Internet of Things are nice because you can turn on your heat at home, and those things are relatively secure. So Nest and stuff all goes over HTTPS and stuff, and it's secure. But there are plenty of small devices, mainly Kickstarter stuff, the Internet of Things toaster, that are not secure. And they go for HTTP, or they use an open telnet connection, or they bust open your network with a UPnP. And they not only open up your network for hackers to get in, they also break the internet. Literally break the internet. Because DNS for a lot of services was down. I realized that not everybody got hit by that. So, did you get hit by that?
No, not at all. I mean, now, I was at work, and I was fairly focused on work things, so me going out to the internet was not... That morning, I ordered a bunch of stuff off of Amazon for about the fun things that we'll talk about later. But outside of that, in the morning, the rest of my day was very focused on work-related things, and until you let me know what was going on, I had no awareness of it at all.
So there were some data centers that got hit too, and because of they use Dyn for their DNS stuff, but they switched over to a different one pretty quickly, which kind of hurts Dyn, but at least they were up. I think that the way they're doing it, I know that people are trying to get focus on Internet of Things probably to do this, or I don't know, but they're hurting everybody else. So.
There has been a specification for HTTP 2.0, version 2.0, for a long while. The browser companies have been starting to do things where it's basically HTTPS everywhere, which is part of version 2 protocol, where everything's going to go and be encrypted and secured. Now, one caveat to talk about, though, and I think you know this as well as I do, just because you get that little security icon, you should check the certificate authority, because you can do self-signed certs, and people can go ahead and sort of balloon up a certificate authority and get themselves sorted out. And so small little businesses can be certificate authorities, and you can look like you're secure, but you want to see, what who issued the certificate, right? To make sure it's just not some kind of hacker, I don't know, some kind of hacking organization that went through the process legitimately and got themselves listed as a certificate authority. If it's not a name you know, then you should question it, especially if you're questioning where you're going.
But that's not really what's going on here. The thing that's going on here is cheap Chinese DVR systems that have an open telnet port, which allows them to log into the machine with default passwords, change a whole lot of stuff, run a botnet on the machine that gets deleted every time you reboot it. So
right, and this is more about the open networks, and my tangent was more like on security. So like the up and coming protocols that the browser companies are going to self-update and force upon you, whether you realize it or not, is they're going to try to fill or basically close these gaps. Now, open networks and what people do with their Wi-Fi routers, that's a totally different issue. Everyone should really be securing their Wi-Fi networks. And these are devices that are inside our networks going out. So I understand that's a problem.
Not just going out, but they're like actually punching holes in your router and telling them, "Oh, open up this port for me," and everything comes in and everything goes out.
Just because you get a box, router out of the box and you plug it in and it costs you $25 and now everything works magically. Like, you should take some initiative if you're concerned about security, which clearly a lot of people really haven't been, and go ahead and secure it up and make sure you close all the default holes.
Yeah. There is a strong initiative going out for actually intentionally bricking those insecure Internet of Things devices. I think that there's like a parody account on Twitter. It's not really a parody account. It's actually got some actual good content on there. Swift on Security. There's like somebody who tries to say that she is Taylor Swift and talks about security stuff, and lots of security stuff comes up there that's actually interesting. But there's like a movement going on, like we should brick those devices. We should go in, log in with those default passwords, intentionally ruin them so they can't be used again. And right now, if you reboot it, it gets reset and there's no more botnet on it. But 5 minutes later, there it is again. And you're being used again for stuff. Now they're using people's appliances against everybody.
Against them. Yeah.
So your devices in your house could be waging war against other things on the internet without you knowing it, and you could be getting like hammered by your ISP for taking too much data, and you wouldn't even know, and you wouldn't just know like a month later because your ISP is telling you, hey, you're doing bad things. We're gonna get more money from you.
I'm definitely not a person I want to be attacked or targeted, and the security in the house is reasonable. It's probably better than average, but it's not. My default position on this is not to be paranoid. So I'm not watching and snooping every single device and watching all its activity. Every once in a while, if I get concerned, I will. And I will take a look and I will deep dive into what's going on from that computer. Why is it broadcasting this way? Or why is the phone doing that? And I will turn specific things off. But that happens a lot less often than it probably should with me. But I also don't want to be the target of someone's attempt to get into the network. I think it'll be pretty easy. I'm using consumer devices, right? Yeah. I'm not using professional devices and have control over every facet of it.
But there's like a couple of things you can do to secure your network. So there's like, you can go into your router, you can disable UPnP, which is the thing that allows devices for Internet of Things to punch out a hole to the internet so stuff can come in. It's basically an auto-config thing that's really old and nobody actually is supposed to use it anymore, but it's still in there. So turn it off, disable it, don't do it. You can turn it off in your devices, but you can also turn it off on your router. You can use a separate AP, access point, or Wi-Fi router for your Internet of Things devices. So your camera system can be on a different Wi-Fi network than your normal stuff. So it doesn't slow down your internal network. It's more secure because it's separate from all your other stuff. You can disable all or most connectivity for Internet of Things devices. That's what I do. I have a couple of IP cameras I use, but I don't trust them at all. So all I do is take away their internet privileges. So nothing gets routed outside my network. And you can unplug the things you don't need, right? Don't leave your toaster hooked up to the internet. You don't need it. It doesn't need to be hooked up to the internet. Don't do it. Research your devices. If you have something that's been made in China or somewhere else, it doesn't really actually matter. Internet of things you can get on Kickstarter, things you got from Kickstarter. Research if there's been security leaks with that. If you have old Internet of Things devices or anything that's connected to the internet. Research them, see if there's anything wrong with it, or if it's open, or if it's in the list for the Mirai network. So yeah, that's a few tips to secure your network from your Internet of Things. Okay, and I have another gripe though. This thing, people keep calling things cyber war. I mean, come on. Who comes up with this stuff?
I mean, don't you have a complaint in general about like everyone's hacking this, hacking that, or the misuse of the word nerd? Everyone's image of a hacker is somebody who is, computer nerd with a keyboard, 8 keyboards, and, a steamy dark room. But that's not, at least definitely in America, we misuse language all the time.
No,
I do too.
Language is supposed to be misused, right? That's how you get new language.
It's the culture of things. But yeah.
Cyber on itself. CNN is saying cyber everything, cyber attacks, cyber this, cyber that. I think that was in the 80s or the 90s that cyber was cool. Now it's just for old people. People don't say cyber.
Well, I got to be honest, it was never cool. My little pet peeve is with download. Oh, well, you must have downloaded my memories. Like, it's just some of these things, as I got older, I got over it. But those things, when I would see them in major movies, would just get under my skin.
Yeah, but that's in movies. Like, there's a movie thing, right? But if people in the news are using the word cyber in something, I get the hair on my neck stands up. I'm like, ugh.
I mean, when you pour out a beer into a glass, you don't say, I downloaded my beer to the glass. Like, you don't do that. And so this is not like a perfect example of where everyone's going to get my point. But I'm sure if I dig around and you listen long enough, you'll hear people misusing computer-like phrases completely incorrectly, including cyber, I guess, at this point. I'm sort of, I don't know, I guess I'm desensitized to it now at this point.
There was a colleague at one point that kept saying he was going to download something and then he went to the toilet.
Okay, that's something I didn't want to hear.
Okay. Speaking of Internet of Things, Tesla is doing full self-driving on their new cars, including the Model 3. I was at work when this was happening. It was like, it must have been in the middle of the night for the guys over at Tesla. It was a very, very interesting thing. They showed a video about the Tesla driving from somebody's home to the Tesla office. I'm like, wow, this is the future. Then again, I'm probably a bit of a Tesla fanboy, so.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in a financial position, I would have already bought one at this point, and I would have bought one well before all this, the new additions. So I think probably by the time I get there to do that, they'll have a lot of this. There will be no reason for me to get behind the wheel unless I'm being reactive to a potential accident.
So in a few years, you're just not going to drive anymore. I'd be down with that.
In all honesty, if you were to take be on the morning commute with me, you see a lot of people, their disposition is to be selfish first. They don't look behind them. They don't look around them. They just kind of ram their car in front of people until they get out of their way. And, I mean, that's not unique to where I live outside Philadelphia. I mean, New York drivers are really aggressive. Jersey drivers, again, everyone's got their own perspective. But from my perspective, from Pennsylvania people like to sit in the left lane and block the left lane. And then they do the wrong thing, which is pass in the right lane. And Jersey drivers have their behavior. And every state has a different behavior, completely behavior. But the thing that's common is the behavior still suited in sort of a selfish thinking. And I just want to take that completely away from them to reduce the accidents and let them be selfish inside the cabin of their car and let the car do the most dutiful and most correct and legal thing for them, get them to their destination and in a safe manner.
We should just get the tubes from Futurama. Would be best. Just drop into a tube.
Well, Elon Musk is working on something, or the Hyperloop. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. That was that's also an Elon Musk thing. That guy's in everything.
Well, I mean, he's retreading old ideas in new ways. It's not like other people haven't considered the idea of self-contained, vacuum-sealed tubing systems for people in mass transit. I mean, if you go back, early ideas that people had about what the future should look like included these ideas. In 2001, the movie, how people are their space station basically is a big old hamster wheel, right? And that concept came back from artists who drew out ideas. That's where they got the idea from. They didn't just pull it out of anywhere. They got it from people who were proposing future concepts and ideas through art. And then we took it and we made it included in a movie, and now everyone thinks about our space stations are going to be like that.
Well, there's a good reason for that, because you can create artificial gravity with that, right?
Sure, yeah.
So if you spin something up, then you can, walk upright.
I mean, as much as we all want our space vehicles to look really cool, the reality is probably the first couple space stations, or not space stations, but spaceships they're not going to look like, Star Trek.
No, it's going to be
spaceships.
It's going to be dry wipes and diapers for everybody.
Yeah, it's really not as glamorous as people believe it's going to be. However, the only way to get it to be glamorous is to keep doing it until we can get that point. Everything's iterative in small steps.
Still want to go to Mars.
I think we all want to be able to wake up on another planet like we do on Earth, but on a completely another planet, and then realize, holy crap, I'm on another planet. This is not Earth. But look, we're growing corn on Venus. That kind of thing.
Well, that would be very hard.
Yes, I know. When I said it, I understood.
Okay, so, but the Tesla self-driving cars, if you had the money, would you buy one? Would you trust something like this? Would you full self-driving, not just assisted?
I would use it more like assistive driving. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I would completely trust it. I think if you had nothing but Teslas, meaning all things were equal, all decision making was like-minded thinking and organized the same way, then yes, I would trust the whole world like that. But that's not possible, and every car manufacturer is going to disagree on the point, mainly because they want the money, not Tesla. But would I get one and use it as assisted driving? Certainly. Would I let it drive for me? I think that's irresponsible. It's neat. It's really neat. But there's no legitimate reason for most people to be able to play their Game Boy, right? The 3DS while they're, going to work and not paying attention to what's going on. You're in the driver's seat. It's your responsibility. That's the game that you should be paying attention to, and that's the one you should be succeeding in safely. That's the way I see driving.
There's no do-overs if you're actually driving, so.
Yeah. And the first time that you run over a person, more importantly, you kill a kid who is just running out in the street because their ball rolled out or their cat rolled out. The first time you are one of those people and you've done that, you can't come back from that. And it's not the fear of that always happening. The likelihood of that happening is a lot less. But the point is that you can't be irresponsible behind the wheel. That's as simple as it is. And for those people who got into accidents, if they caused the accident and they're going to blame it on self-driving, I think the reality is you were behind the driver's seat. And the car doesn't take over for you unless it knows there's an absolute circumstance you're going to get crushed by two trucks or something like that. But I don't know it. I think it forces you to take the wheel again, I believe, in most cases. So, yeah, I don't know. I think my big thing is it's not that I don't trust the system. I don't know the system is perfect yet. And I don't know that I completely trust people. So me getting behind the wheel and using it in an assistive manner is probably the best approach for me in my thinking.
It kind of depends on if you trust the system the same way as you trust a person.
Right.
But then again, persons can also have moments where they are not that trustworthy. Like, for example, they have an aneurysm or, they suddenly fall asleep or something.
Right, yeah.
So there's also that. And I think that since the cars can't fall asleep or have an aneurysm, except for moments where they get hacked or something else fries or something. So there's always the same danger.
Yeah.
But
you talk about the Internet of Things. All these systems are hackable.
But the difference is that with a person, you can still grab the wheel if you're sitting next to it, right? Or use the brakes or something. Right? You have something to intervene with. With the self-driving car, you could have no control over the wheel anymore for some reason, right? It's all electronic, and now most of the cars still all have all electronic stuff, so that could still happen. But I'd feel a lot safer if you'd still have something to take over at some point. So that's why I don't like the cars from Google, because they are without a steering wheel. They have no way to intervene. And I like the idea of the Tesla more. And there's also another brand that's doing electric cars, right?
I know there's a manufacturer, I think, in China that's trying to... They're basically some equivalent like Amazon or something, and they're trying to get in the business of self-driving cars. I see a lot of investment things on them every once in a while.
I saw a video of a guy making a $1,000 self-driving car, and it was really, really dangerous. He nearly got into a crash and stuff. He used Arduinos and computer vision, but
they're not fast enough.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So I'm like, what? No, that
Tesla
can't be.
is basically running most of its calculation logic off of GPUs and using NVIDIA.
Yeah.
They partnered with NVIDIA.
Yeah.
I mean, basically...
They got a Titan in there. It's like doing their stuff.
The high-class gaming engines that would be on a high-class gaming PC for you to play Titanfall is basically driving the car. Yeah. I mean, I think... Definitely I had an idea, and I think we talked about this probably on our previous show. The way I would probably see it best organized is something like the way they do it with airplanes, right? Pilots have to be licensed and certified X number of hours. Maybe not so extreme for people who drive. I think our system today is fairly laxed.
Yeah, I think there could be at least some system that does this. Like a few 100 hours of driving experience would be nice.
But you had someone who was a pilot in the 40s. They couldn't fly a commercial airliner well, maybe they could, but a lot of the systems are automatic for safety reasons, and there's big industry in it, and I don't know what the bureaucracy is inside that, but I know that flying on a plane is much safer than it has ever been, and there are people who it's their jobs, air traffic controllers, and everyone is watching what's going on in the sky.
You're talking about the fly-by-wire thing,
they know what's
right?
happening.
You're talking about the fly-by-wire thing, right?
Yeah, and there's plenty of them actually happening.
Isn't that all standardized?
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. There is no standard.
Yeah.
People are trying to do this within their own company. They're doing it 3 or 4 different times, and they are all messing with each other, with other people who are driving themselves or flying themselves over to other places, and they're interfering with each other. And there's no a standard for if you get on the highway, you go into automatic driving mode, and you can just get there as fast as you can. No more traffic jams, everything. And then if you go off, then you can drive again. I think that would be a nice system, because then it is standardized.
Today's driving system is more of a road system and less of a driving system, and it's premised on understanding there's a constant amount of chaos, things you can't account for. And where we're talking about, or at least what I was pitching the idea, is that the only way to really trust the system is when the power is taken away from the people who create the chaos and the most part of the chaos. Take that control completely away from them and let the cars work together with hopefully engineered in such a way that it's very difficult to hack them, right? So there's peer-to-peer conversations going on, or some standardized, organized automation that's in place where people are watching things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can you imagine being stuck in traffic and then an ambulance or a fire truck needing to get to something, and then all the cars kind of self-organize, move out of the way, let the fire truck go by, and then they all spread back out?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a wonderful utopia with driving systems.
Yeah.
I think the biggest danger is the people that are driving, or in this case, lack of driving. And even though there's no automation today, I think if you just sat there on the road and you were go up and down your highway, you'd see a lot of people, again, I was saying before, selfishly drive. They don't care about you. They only care about what's in their way. They're either running away from something or running towards something. And people drive exactly like that. In the U.S., it's pretty bad. The reason for the accidents is because of the people who caused the accidents. And it's not always the person who got into the accident was the reason for the accident.
Anyway, if you want to know more about the Tesla full self-driving and actually see it happen, you go to polymatic.link/9. If you want to see somebody almost get killed, go to polymatic.link/G. That's the $1,000 self-driving thing, which I think
Oh,
is a
really?
hoax, but it's pretty funny. It's a lot worse than the than the one from Tesla. I've also been building something. I've been building a hamster fitness device, and it's basically a Fitbit for your hamster. It's a small project. It's going to be open source, and I'm gonna write an article. I'm making a video about it, about the design parts. I designed some stuff in 3D, 1-2-3D design, and I assembled it, and it's working. It's pretty awesome, and that's going to be on the website soon. So I hope to have some actual making stuff on there.
Sweet. Good to see it.
Yeah.
You haven't talked about the Pokeball caching that you came up with.
Yeah, I kind of let that die. That was a while there was like Google
Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there were like lots of Pokestops near my house. And I was like, okay, I'll print some Pokeballs and put a little note inside and say, hey, tweet at me so I know I can put a new one down. I did that for a while and got like 3 responses out of 20 Pokeballs put out. So I totally stopped doing it. I still have 3 out here that I need to put down somewhere at some point. But Pokemon Go has died down.
I think what you should do is when you travel outside of where you live, like if you come over to the U.S., you need to lay them down in popular places.
Yeah, and then,
I'm sure
then
if you
get
did this
shot.
like in New York City, like in a park in New York City, you would totally get responses.
Yeah, but I could also get shot by somebody. I mean, if you put something down in New York City, they assume it's something bad, right? Also, the podcast is now on iTunes. You can find the feed in polymatic.link/d. So let's go on to the fun stuff. Alan, you've got some.
Yeah, I got a
cool
bunch of things. So since we last kind of talked and had a show, I always find a lot of stuff in YouTube, and that seems to be starting to replace a lot of my TV. My disposition is typically I'm more likely to gravitate to go check out what's in my YouTube stuff for the day before I watch any TV, before I go work on any other projects. So I come across a lot of stuff all the time, and I kind of bookmark and I kind of test out various YouTubers to see if I want to keep them in my, stay subscribed and I want to continue to watch their stuff. So I came across someone named, I believe, Matt Workman. Anyhow, so he's a cinematographer. A lot of stuff he's doing is short form. It's not like big, huge feature films, but he goes over lighting. And if you're interested in any kind of photography stuff, he goes over kind of lighting and various techniques and various approach. And one of the more recent ones, I don't know where I linked this to, but if you want to follow along with this, you can go to Polymatic.link/6, the number, and you can go over there. And I saw him kind of break down a Ariana Grande music video, how he would do it, what lights he would use, what the lights and the color temperatures were. And it was sort of like kind of deconstructing things that you just normally, enjoy in entertainment, not realizing there's a lot of thought that goes into the lighting. Most people, they want a smartphone, they turn it on and they get a perfect picture, but they don't understand there's actually some science in how the lighting works or why you didn't get a good picture. It's too dark. So he puts out some stuff in the last couple weeks since I've been watching him. He's put out a couple videos a week. So I would go over there and check out what he's been doing. Polymatic.link/6. And if you're curious about lighting, it doesn't have to be specific to film. Another person that I've come across a number of times, but in the last couple weeks, I see you're smiling, John. I eventually delve in because I saw one video that caught my attention. I watched it and it had me laughing, and then I watched another one, and she's one of the more recent people added to the Tested group over at tested.com, Simone Cutes. Her last name is spelled not like what you expected, but the easier way to figure this out is go over to polymatic.link/7. And I started with a video of her about like how would a unicorn type on a computer keyboard, and I laughed my ass off. And then I continued to deep dive into most of her videos, and I spent probably a good afternoon laughing last weekend. So I adore what the kind of stuff that she's doing, and it's not shtick, meaning it's just her. She had an idea. She went off. She got some Arduino boards and stepper motors. She puts together an iPhone case that has punching fists on it, and then she shows it to you. And that's it. She makes a video.
Yeah.
And it's
also she's not very work safe because she cusses a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm totally fine with that, but some people might not.
Yeah,
be.
I wouldn't want, even though she does some fun stuff, she could, in the video where something is, she built a shoddy robot, we'll say it that way, the queen of shoddy robots.
Oh, shitty.
Yeah, yeah. That's what she calls herself. Well, someone called her that, and she took to that. But if she has something that's slapping her in her face, she might curse. So just be aware of that. But definitely fun stuff. And then the male equivalent of that, but not necessarily. He has a completely different. Like if you could take her and pivot, and he's been doing this longer than she has. And you look at it more from a male approach of just a guy building stuff with the same kind of impetus, which is starting out from an origin of having an idea and then spends a lot of time building it, and then he shows it to you. And this is Colin Furze. My starting point with him was months ago, maybe even last year, where he built a hover bike out of fans and I think lawnmowers. And so it's kind of cool. But then, he might build a shed. He might build, blow things up. He might build a jet engine. You never know. You could check him out at polymatic.link/A. So polymatic.link/A. And then last, I'll just give you a couple links for some stuff that I bought recently in the area of lighting. Because why not? They weren't that expensive. I bought these Viltrox LED panels. So I got two different types. And so let me give you the links first so you guys can kind of go look this stuff up. I think the best link that I found was Amazon. It is not an affiliate link. So feel free to use these links to your advantage. But polymatic.link/B and /C. These LED panels cost about $35 per. One is a little more narrow, a little more wide, puts out about 1,000 lumens. The other one puts out just shy of 1,000 lumens and a little more square. But to get these panels, they're about $35 each. One's a little less than that. And there are really two models you got to be careful of. So the ones I linked you to were the Viltrox L132T and the Viltrox L116T. The one thing that I ran into is I had bought unknowingly a B version. And the B version has really simply two modes to it, which is, it has really one mode. It has brightness. It has a knob on the back with an LCD panel, and if you click it, it will step up and down the brightness levels. Or you turn the knob and it will go up and down the brightness levels between 0 and 100%. The T version has two modes. It has brightness and color temperature. The B models are locked. And so I bought a B model. So I ordered another one, which is a T model. So I have two panels of the 116s that are color temperature controlled. So you can give a more daylight color, or you can put a more like fluorescent bulb color out of it. And pretty good. The only kind of warning is you'll have to buy the MP batteries, camcorder batteries, and let's say on Amazon, they're pretty cheap. I bought 550s, which are the lowest of the battery banks, and I got two and a charger for $22 or something. So if you go to Amazon, these were linked over to Amazon US. I'm sure it'll suggest what other people bought, and they'll give you battery combos. For about $50, you can buy an LED panel that you can attach to a camcorder or to your DLSR, or you could do what I'm planning on doing with them a lot, which is attach them to lighting stands and use them as backfill or floodlights or just on-camera lights.
So what would people use these for?
So if you wanted to get a really nice professional LED light that puts out 1,000 lumens, if you got KinoFlow lights, they're going to cost you at least starting $1,000. At least. That doesn't include batteries. That's just for the panel. So these things are really kind of, they're small, they're thin, and they're good if you're taking pictures of a new tech device, your new iPhone, and you put it on the table and you give yourself a nice clean environment. You take a couple of these and you can eliminate shadows altogether, and then you can take your perfect picture of your new iPhone that you can share on YouTube or anything. If you're doing any vlogging, you're doing any on-camera stuff, these are great for having them in sort of a studio environment. For $35, the price point, if you want to include the battery, for $50, that's a pretty good price point. You can experiment, and you can learn a lot about lighting and how to use color temperature. And I figured I would just share them because I bought them, and I'm fairly impressed by them. I took a couple pictures, and I realized I should take a picture of the back that has the LCD panel on it, so you guys can see that. I don't know. I think for $35, this is a great experiment. For if you're interested in anything that has to do with photography or filming. The one thing I wouldn't use these things for is I wouldn't buy these things to light your house up with. They can do it, but they're not designed for that. They're meant to do continuous lighting, but they're not meant to be your light bulb for your house. They're meant to be for applications, like taking pictures, right?
Okay. Well, about Colin Furze, I wouldn't really compare him to Simone Cutes, but he is more. Simone is going at it from like an actual. She just learned this, and she's going at it, and she's using it straight away. Colin Furze has been building stuff for a while. He's been making things. He was a plumber before this, so he has some skills already. Simone Cutes is just awesome because she's doing things, and that's great. But there's like a huge difference in the implementation. And also, Colin Furze is absolutely certifiably nuts. The things he's doing is insane. Yeah. Blowing things up. He recently blew up his old van with fireworks just because.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm like, oh, just a waste.
But he did it, they blew it up, but they took it to a place where it was safe to do that. I would have to, for some legal reasons, they had to coordinate that. They couldn't just do it. I'm sure the thing you didn't see in the back there is they probably had like a retired fireman or something,
He then got a plane to increase the flames, right?
Yeah. But the one thing, you're more likely to laugh at what Simone is doing. Yeah. You're less likely to laugh at what Colin is doing. I think that's
really scary stuff.
Yeah. But in someone who's doing some kind of crazy builds for the sake of building crazy things with no purpose. Yeah.
I saw a video of Adam Savage doing the Totoro build for his.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention that to you.
Amazing! It was very well done.
I watched that last night, actually.
Yeah, it was just watching it, and I sent the video to my brother, and he was really amazed. He just spent he watched the entire video. He normally never does that. He just, okay, thank you for the link, and continues what he's doing. But this, he just watched, and I was like, yeah, this is the good stuff. Like, people are actually making things. So I ran into some cool music, which is flares. You can find it at polymatic.link/8, and it's not much to say about it because, it's music. It sounds really good. Just okay. And then I also ran into David Hewlett. I actually ran into him a while back on YouTube, but he's been making videos. David Hewlett is known for being the guy from Stargate Atlantis. Rodney McKay, he played that. He's been in a few other sci-fi series, and he is also in The Cube.
Dark Matter.
But
every once in a while.
He was also in a couple of other movies. Actually, he's been in a lot of movies, but he's a good actor. But he's also been doing lots of cool stuff, building game PCs with his son, and it's a fun channel to watch if you're into that kind of stuff. Polymatic.link/F.
I will say though, before we started recording today, I saw he was playing, I guess, with one of his kids, some Minecraft game server or something, where he goes into insane mode or something. So I was watching a few minutes of it. Now I want to go find where and what the game he was playing and check it out. But I assume that links over to his YouTube channel. Yeah. Okay. So people will probably find that in the more recent videos if they check it out.
It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So where can they find you, Alan?
You can find me on Twitter at Chase, CHAESS.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at WebDevie, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@polymatic.media. You can find our Twitter at ThePolymatic. And please subscribe to our iTunes and YouTube accounts if you can. Our website is polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time. Music in this episode was by Say Uns. It was licensed under Creative Commons Attribution and found on the Free Music Archive. You can find these tracks at shortner.com/PRK.